Hello again. We're back to do some more factoring. Our last video was about factoring using the illegal method. If you missed it, go ahead and check it out. That was a supplement to a previous lesson. Even so, this will be a supplement to our lesson on completing the square. It's good to have that understanding of where our formulas come from. At the same time, when you're still getting used to this stuff, the best way to learn it is by repeated examples. So I decided I'd go through a couple examples here, and then I'd leave you to solve a couple on your own. So let's begin. Today's lesson, we're going to be employing the quadratic formula. Okay, before we get there, perhaps it'd be good to revisit the completing the square. So let's start with 2x squared plus 3x minus 4. Now you can go ahead and try to factor this. You can try the illegal method and then make a table, but you'll run into difficulties because the factors are not whole numbers, as we'll see here shortly. So when we were completing the square, our first step was to divide every term by 2. So this cancels. We're left with x squared plus 3 over 2x minus, well, 4 divided by 2 is simply 2. 0 divided by 2 is still 0. Okay, so we ran through this before in a previous video using letters A, B, and C as symbols. Now I'm giving you numbers just so you have a more concrete picture of what's going on. So this is where we have to divide that by 2, right? As a little side note, we have x plus 3 over 4, okay, squared. That's going to be x plus 3 over 4 times x plus 3 over 4. And then we FOIL it. First, outer, inner, last. We get x squared. 3/4 plus 3/4 is 3/2 x. You may need to revisit fractions if this is looking a bit rusty to you. 9/4, 3 and 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. Yep. Always be careful of the details. From there, what do we notice? That this part here matches up with this part here. So if I do x plus 3/4 squared, now to get that I have to subtract the 9/16. Minus 9 over 16 minus 2 is equal to 0. Okay, I'll bring these two terms over to the other side. X plus 3/4 squared equals 2 plus 9 over 16. Well, okay, to add or subtract fractions, I'm going to need a common denominator. This is 16, so to get 16 in the bottom, I multiply it by the top. 2 times 16 is 32. That's where I'm getting that. So 32 plus 9 is 41. Bottom stays the same. That's 16. So now, to undo a square, I can take the square root of both sides. And the square root of that is the same as the square root of the top and bottom separately. Then square root of 41. 41 is a prime number, meaning we cannot factor it into the product of 2 or more other numbers. Square root of 16 is 4. Okay, I think we're done here for now. We have x plus 3/4. I guess I no longer need parentheses because I'm not squaring it anymore. That's equal to square root of 41. Well, minor detail here. When we take the square root, it can be positive or negative. So I should technically have a plus or minus sign in front of that. So what do we have? The plus or minus square root of 41 over 4. Now, okay, looky here, we have a common denominator, a 4. So I get x, subtract 3/4 from both sides, negative 3/4 plus or minus 41 over 4. Okay, so x, I can combine it into 1, negative 3 plus or minus square root of 41 all over 4. Okay, so that's what I got by completing the square. Now remember in my video on completing the square, how if you're taking notes, pause the video and write this down. I'm going to erase it so we have more room. When I was completing the square, we ultimately derived what's called the quadratic formula, where given some trinomial ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, we can solve for x, and that was negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so if we were to go back to this example, what? A is equal to 2, b is equal to 3, c is equal to negative 4. Again, be careful of your negative signs. So once we've identified A, B, and C, plug it into there and should spit out an answer. Let's give it a try. X equals, so B, we're going to have negative 3 plus or minus, well, what's 3? I'll write it out. 3 squared minus 4 times A is 2. C is negative 4 all over 2A. A is 2. Okay, so I've just plugged in the numbers to that. Now I can do some cleaning up. Negative 3 plus or minus. 3 squared is 9 minus, well, negative is a positive. 4 times 2 is 8, times 4 is 32, over 2 times 2 is 4. Well, what is that? Negative 3 plus or minus, 9 plus 32 is 41, all over 4. Matches up what we got here. Okay, so you can see once we've derived this one time, we can keep reusing it again and again to get the answer. This is a pretty universal formula. It works virtually all cases. You know, I said how factoring would break down because we have this square root of 41. It's not a whole number, but this will give you the answer all the time. Okay, so complete the square. I showed you that way and how it's quicker to use the quadratic formula. So let's go through one more example using the quadratic formula, and then I'll turn you loose to try some on your own. 4x squared plus 20x plus 15 is equal to 0. Okay, so we've identified A, B, and C. All right, I'll just write it out so we're clear. A is equal to 4, B equal to 20, C equal to 15. All right, now I just plug it into here. X equals negative B, that's negative 20, plus or minus, well, okay, 20 squared minus 4AC. So I'm just plugging in the numbers. You can follow along. Check that I got these right. Now let's clean it up a bit. Negative 20 plus or minus, well, 20 squared, 20 times 20 is 400. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 15 is, what is that? Well, okay, let's try it this way. 4 times 15 is 60. 60 times 4 is 240. Okay, so see, I mentioned in a previous video, the order of multiplication doesn't matter. So I can do these two first, then this, or these two, and then this one. I use that trick there. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, great. So negative 20 plus or minus 400 minus 240. That's going to be 160 all over 8. Okay, 160 is the same as 16 times 100. No, 16 times 10. See? Checking if you're paying attention. Now, the square root of 16 times 10 can be rewritten as the square root of 16 times the square root of 10. Okay, I just separated those out. Square root of 16 is 4. Okay, notice now each of these is divisible by 4. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. 4 over 4 is 1. So that we're just going to have 1 times the square root of 10. And then in the denominator, 8 divided by 4 is 2. So it looks like this is my answer. You can check me on that. So again, instead of completing the square, I just went right to the quadratic formula. It's pretty quick. You know, you have to do a little bit of arithmetic, but that's not bad to brush up on. That's that. Let me give you a couple. Put that in the homework section. Bx squared minus 5x plus 1 is equal to 0. X squared minus 3x minus 9 is equal to 0. Okay, so give these a try. I want you to post your answer in the comment section. We'll have a discussion. If you have any questions about what I did here, feel free to comment. I hope this makes it a little more clear by putting some actual numbers to it. Like, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.